Hey guys, this is Peggy, and we are here with Kathleen Lisson, and everyone knows that I just think Kathleen Lisson is a genius. I love talking to her about all things. She is, I don't even know all of your certifications because you're like not just certified lymphedema therapist, you're like
Yes.
post-plastic surgery, you're like an author, you have a bazillion titles behind you. You're super educated.
Thank you. Thank you. So yes, I am. I'm a board certified massage therapist and a certified lymphedema therapist. But what we're going to talk to today is the fact that before I was either of those things, I was a meditation teacher. So this is something that I've been really happy to bring into the meditation, mindfulness, the breath work into my treatment room when I have clients that have lymphatic issues, lymphedema, and especially incorporating the breath work and the mindfulness into their self-care and their self-treatment.
And stress is a trigger for lymphatic flare-ups, for everything. Period. Yeah. Stress is a flare-up, period. We could just end the sentence. Deep breathing helps move lymphatics. So all of this very much ties in with self-care of lymphedema.
Yes.
Build your immune system. It like this is like if there was one thing, like if you just did this one thing, how could it help your entire life? This would be it. Yes. Emotionally, mentally, like all of the areas of your life, this would be the one that we could easily say, if you only do one thing and you only really practice one thing in your life, this is the thing you should do.
You won't get too far without breathing. So yes. But the other thing that's great about it is it's free in contrast to many parts of lymphedema self-care, which can get extremely expensive. And it's portable because you can do it anytime. Anywhere. And especially when you're feeling stressed and when you have downtime. So it's like waiting in line, things like that. So some of the things we're going to do are going to be like vocalizations. Maybe you can't do that when you're in line in the bank.
Probably shouldn't.
But there are the first three things, the first three breathwork techniques we're going to use is something that you could do when you're in the car, when you're in line in the bank, when someone's like lecturing you and you don't really want to be there. But this will help to bring you back into a zone of tolerance where you have all your facilities and then you can interact with somebody versus being outside of that window of tolerance where you're in fight or flight with the sympathetic nervous system and you're just too anxious and too, going a million miles an hour, or the other hand is you're kind of on the other side, which is like you're dissociating, you have low motivation and stuff. This can help you to bring in that sweet spot, that center, that zone of tolerance where you can get your best work done and you're the best person in your relationships with other people.
Awesome. So do you want to get started by teaching us some breathing techniques?
Yeah. So we're going to get started. I think it's going to be about a 10 or 15 minute practice. We're going to go through 5 different techniques: box breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, 5-7-8 breathing, toning, and a little fun part at the end where we're going to mix breathing and little range of motion exercises. And so we're going to go into each of these exercises for about a minute and then step back out of them and kind of talk about how we're feeling in our bodies after it. At any point in this webinar, as you're watching it, you can skip any part of it that doesn't work for you. That's completely okay. So we're going to start by taking a relaxed yet alert posture. It can be lying down, it can be sitting, just anywhere where you see that mixture of being relaxed and yet still being alert. And I'll just have us start to take some deeper breaths.
Okay.
You can have your eyes open or they can be closed, whichever is more comfortable for you. So just a little bit longer of an inhale and longer of an exhale.
Is it important to inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth? Is that a good practice?
It's, if you can, yes. I have a deviated septum, so that's not always available to me. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely something you can play around with and see if that way of breathing is makes you feel good.
But basically breathe however you can breathe.
Yes, but at the end point, if you have a stuffy nose, that doesn't mean you can't do this. You can just breathe through your mouth. So now I'll have you notice your mood and your thoughts right now. Just what's going on inside. And notice if you have any feelings coming up about the topic that we're going to talk about of breath work. And I just invite you to make room for whatever is here right now. Just make room for it. Now we're going to turn our attention to grounding, or what I call your resource. So that could be feeling the pressure of your body against the seat, feeling of your feet on the ground. It could be, if your eyes are open, something on the wall or in your environment, an image that you like. It could be a sound that you hear outside. And just know that this resource is here for you throughout this entire practice and all of your practices. And at any time, if you want to step away from what we're doing and instead focus on your resource, then that's perfectly fine. So now that we've kind of have our resource, I'd like you to turn your thoughts to what is your inspiration for being here. Why did you click play on Peggy's video? What is it that you want to learn here today? Okay, so now we're going to shift into our first breathing practice. We're going to do something called box breathing for about a minute. I'll explain what it is, and then we'll go ahead and do it. So box breathing is if you had like a physical, like a box. And so each of the box, like a square, is the same length. So that's, I think, why they call it box. So you can do, and think of this is your breathing. So you're breathing, you're inhaling for a certain amount of time, you're holding the breath, you're exhaling for a certain amount of time, and then you're holding the breath, and then you're at the beginning of the box. So it's that inhale, hold, exhale, hold. Kind of like you can visualize it as a box if that works for you. So we'll try it in 2-second increments. So we're going to inhale for 2, hold for 2, exhale for 2, and then hold for 2. So I'll keep the time and we'll practice this for about a minute.
Okay.
Inhaling for 2, holding for 2, exhaling for 2, and holding for 2. And I'll let us do this. This can be our last one. Okay, now we're done. What did you think about that?
I liked that. It's very, very relaxing. I kind of focused on a spot on the wall, and I think my brain kind of
went into a square.
my brain kind of went into a square, but it's just very, very, very relaxing.
Yeah. And it gives us a way to equalize the inhalation and the exhalation. We'll go into some breathing that has the exhalation longer than the inhalation. But often, if we're stressed out, we're inhaling and not giving that time to exhale. There's some very interesting research about heart rate variability and how the heart rate variability needs to, we need to have variability. We can't have our heart going like this, like a metronome. The heart has to go faster at some points when we inhale, and then it'll go slower during the exhale. So to kind of give the heart a way to have variability, instead of, this is the sign, if your heart is at the same beat for a minute, it's a sign of illness. Having a variability to the heart rate is actually a mark of health. Yeah. So this will kind of get you into like a routine of breathing, and then the holding and the exhaling, and you feel more peaceful afterwards.
Very peaceful.
Afterwards, yeah, than kind of before. So I love it. So that is called box breathing. So now we'll switch into our second thing, which is diaphragmatic breathing. So I'll have you put one hand on the heart and one hand on the belly. Very interesting. I'm doing a lot of like research and listening to a lot of things. And someone says, one of the teachers said, like, each individual person, it's different, but if you try doing it the other way, it feels more comfortable to do it one way than the other. So just you don't have to put, it's not like you don't have to put your left hand on a certain place, but put one over the belly button and one over the upper chest. And then the diaphragmatic breathing, we're going to work our diaphragm. So a lot of times when we're stressed out, we'll breathe with our scalenes. We'll try to inhale here and lift our rib cage up to breathe, when an alternative and better way to breathe that I'd like to invite you to try would be to use your diaphragm to breathe. And how we can see that is that when we put our hand over the belly button, this hand should move in and out. So if this is really hard for you, another way to do it would be to lie down and then actually take a heavy book and put it over the stomach. And this is how we actually will teach small children to diaphragmatically breathe. Put your teddy bear over there and then see if your teddy bear can go up and down. So what I like to do with breathing practices, whenever you say deep breath, people instantly, they inhale, and it's really easy to take a deep breath here. Right here. Yeah. So I invite everyone to start deep breathing by breathing all the way out. So breathe all the way out and then breathe in. And it's usually a lot easier and more natural to get that full breath with the whole lung power and the diaphragm. Yeah. So I will keep the time, and we will be doing this for 1 minute, and then I'll take us out of this and we can talk about it. So let's do some diaphragmatic breathing. We'll start by breathing out. This could be our last one. Okay, so we can transition out of that. We can use movement. We can put our hand on our heart. Anything that kind of gets us transitioning from the breathing part to the talking part, thinking part.
Yeah.
So what did you think about the gold standard time?
Well, because I was fortunate enough to have a therapist that taught me this 14 years ago, and this is part of when I do my self-massage twice a day or once a day right now. Yeah. that's how I incorporate that when I'm doing the massage on my abdomen. I make sure I do the diaphragm breathing, and just when I'm having if I'm sitting a lot or standing a lot or not moving a lot, you know, I'll be like, oh, this is something that's like I can do right now to get the lymph moving and just kind of do something. Like I'm standing here, I can breathe because I'm going to breathe anyway. And that's the thing. I think we take breathing for granted, and it's so powerful. I mean, we have to do it anyway. Let's do it with intention. So yeah, this is really good.
Yeah, so diaphragmatic breathing, if you've ever been taught self-MLD, if you've ever been issued an intermittent pneumatic compression pump, this should have been part of the education process, is that this is the breathing that we recommend. The diaphragm is actually bifurcated, but I always say it backwards. The thoracic duct bifurcates the diaphragm. It goes through the diaphragm. So that's how we get the lymphatic fluid from the lower half to the upper half. How we actually get the lymphatic system pumping is the action of the diaphragm. So it's not enough to just breathe using these muscles. We need to use the diaphragm as well. Okay, so the third type of breathing we'll talk about is 5-7-8 breathing. So we'll inhale for 5, hold for 7, and exhale for 8. And I would like to say I really like to use this if I'm like stressed out or anxious a lot. And sometimes you have to step into this slowly, because if I'm anxious and breathing
you
fast,
can get lightheaded.
I'm not even. I admire that you can get lightheaded from it, because I can't even inhale for a count of 5. Like it takes me a couple breaths to even be able to inhale, because like my inhale will be like. And it'll be 3, and I'll be like, it's full, Kathleen, what do you mean 5? So you kind of need to be happy with yourself and understanding that you're going to step into this, and eventually after a couple breaths, you'll get from like count of 3 inhale to count of 4 inhale to count of 5 inhale, and then and the other thing is the 8. Like it's interesting. That's a great thing to focus on, is you can't just exhale to a count of 2 and then hold your breath. Like that's not what we want.
You're pushing it all the way out.
And we want to do it evenly for a count of 8, not just like a count of 3 and then there's nothing to exhale anymore.
You're like, dry lung. It feels like, this is actually, I do this every morning 4 times in a row. Like this is just like part of my waking up process. And because it makes me, you can tell me if I'm just cray here, but to me, it makes me feel like I'm opening my lungs up. I'm like really getting that, I'm getting everything out, I'm getting everything in, and it just makes me feel like I started the day right. You know, now I can meditate and now I can do my things. So
good.
So this one I was excited, so I was like, I do this one.
That's my jam. Yep, and that's good. And it's good that you brought that up, because a lot of people will have difficulty. I mean, especially we ask a lot of meditation. Like meditation is supposed to solve everything in 2 seconds. Like you should just be able to like go and like fight your way through traffic and then get home and then be able to sit down very serenely, and your body can't go 60 miles an hour to 0. So sometimes this breathing is going to help to regulate your nervous system, so then you can sit in meditation, you can have that difficult conversation, you can have a conversation with someone you love and you maybe don't want to snap at them. Like, well,
and the other thing is I wasn't able to instantly do this. This is something I had to work up to. Like I think I do like, and I don't like count 1,000. I count 1, 2, 3, 4. You know?
Yeah, no, that's how I do too. Yeah.
And then, but I think what I do is like where I usually am is I do 8, 20, and 16. So I double the in. But I'm not like 1,000. I'm not methodical about it.
No.
So, and it's definitely not a 20 second. It's 1, 2, 3. You know, so it's probably more of a 10 sec. But this is something that I had to work up to and kind of, you know, build my way up. It's like you said, sometimes you're like 5 seconds. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So, you know, don't think that, I can't do this, so you can never do that. No, just start like with 3 seconds and 5 seconds, and you know, start building it up, because your lungs will. And then you'll realize during the day, you're like, I'm breathing deeper. Just like, I have air in my system. This is awesome. So,
Yeah, so it's great that we had this conversation before, because we can take a real playful, curious attitude towards this breathing and kind of see it as a possible goal and not something that we have to master right away. So I will take us into this. We'll do 4 rounds and just participate as much as your body will let you today. And if at any time you want to go back to that grounding resource that we talked about in your environment, we can definitely do that, and then just join us at the end. All right, so we're going to be inhaling for 5, holding for 7, and exhaling for 8. And then I will call it when we're going to do our last round of breath, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so let's start. We'll let this be our last one. How did that feel?
I love this. For some reason, this just like, this is my jam, like we said. For some reason, I just really like this one.
Yeah.
And I think it's because it was hard for me, and when I started, I couldn't do it. So I think it makes me like, I can do this now. I think it's an accomplishment. It's like, and I feel good afterwards, and I actually feel good during the day.
Yeah.
And like, if like colds or sinuses are going around, like I'll do this multiple times during the day just to keep my lungs really open and not let any, germs try to sneak in there and,
Yeah. You should. So we were talking about the Huberman podcast. He's a professor at Stanford, and I gave her. He has a podcast episode on the immune system.
It's really good.
If you listen to the end of that podcast, he actually has a breathwork technique.
I'm right at, because I listened to it on the way here, I'm literally right at where he's talking about the breath.
So if you want to hear
I could put the link in the...
An advanced breath. So this is an advanced breathwork technique that he said you can't practice while driving.
No.
You can't practice...
Well, and that's
try this at home.
You have to realize that you can make yourself a little lightheaded. So you have to be safe. If this is the first time you're trying these things, don't do something crazy. Deep and hold for a long time and pass out, and you're home alone or you're in the car. Don't do silly things. Use your brain. Use your smarts.
Yeah. Practice it here on the podcast first.
Practice
and then see.
Practice with friends.
Yep. So then now we're going to get into some fun stuff. I like the fun breath work. So we're going to do something called toning. And basically we're going to put our hands and then make a sound and feel the sound vibrating in our body. First in our solar plexus, which is kind of above the navel. And then we're going to go to where our heart is, where we can have our hand over the rib cage. And then the face technique is going to be, I like to feel the bones of the face, because you can really feel it in the bone, or you can hold your hand alternatively between your eyebrows. But I really like to feel it on my nose and my cheekbones, because you can feel the tone. And that's what we're going for with toning, is to make a vibration with our vocal cords into our body. And if you've done research on different treatments, different types of self-care with lymphedema or the lymphatic system, introducing a vibration into the body, whether on a vibrating plate, on the chi machine, with a handheld vibration machine. This is all very interesting, and I know the researchers are looking at the effects of it on the lymphatic system right now.
We talked on the phone I don't know when we talked on the phone, last week. We'll say last week, a few days ago, and you were talking about this, so I started trying it while I was on my chi machine, and it was just really interesting to feel the way it made your body feel. So this is something that I'm really interested in. This is exciting.
Yep. So I have some clients, when I'm doing the deep compressions at the beginning of their MLD, I will have them tone. I'll have them say rum. While they're toning with that. And then they can do a little bit of a higher tone while I'm doing the neck work, which you can really feel during, and when you're doing your self MLD network, try to do a tone like rum, and you can feel it in your hands, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're vibrating while we're massaging on the neck, which I think it's free.
It's free.
So why not do it? And you're massaging your neck anyways.
And everybody wants to massage your neck whether you have lymphedema or not.
Everyone wants to massage your neck. So, okay, so this is toning. So we're going to use the word rum, and it is in Ayurveda, which is the Indian natural healing their system of medicine in India. It's associated with the solar plexus chakra, but we're going to use the tone rum for me because I like the way that it resonates. So you can hum anything else that will give you any other word that you like that will give you that tone. So if you want, it's not the word that we're saying, it's the fact that we're getting we're making a sound and it's vibrating. So we're going to do 3 of each, and then we're going to end the intervention, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit. Okay. So we'll start by putting our hand, whichever hand you want. You can do one hand, you can do 2 hands, and it'll be over the, right above the belly button. And then we'll inhale and then say rum. Rum. Over the heart. And then for this one, kind of nasally, very high pitched. Take a dip, and you got excited about it.
I did.
All right, so we can shift out of that practice and just take a minute and see how it felt in our body. If we want to move our hands or put our hand over our heart.
I think it's interesting because when I've done this at home, I've always been laying down. So it feels completely different in my body sitting up. I felt laying down, I don't feel it here as much. Sitting up, I felt it more in my back.
Cool. Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting. I mean, it's still whether you technically feel it, it's still vibrating, but it was just different it was surprising to do it sitting up after never really playing with it sitting up. I was like, oh, well, that's fun.
Yep. So that's something you can definitely do in the car. And what I like about it is you see we built into the practice that very long exhale, especially as you get lower in tone. The deep exhales were longer, and then they got like a little bit shorter and a little bit shorter. But there's an inhale and then a very long exhale. And this is similar. If you're looking to take a deep dive into the research in this, there's a lot of really interesting research with singing and how singing modulates the nervous system because it's that long exhale and the vocalization at the same time.
I was talking to my friend, the maestro, and I was telling him about what you were telling me about, and he said, because I was like, is there a certain pitch? Like, does it have to be like, and he got this weird look on his face, as people do when they talk to me, I don't know. And he was like, well, everybody has a different vibration. And I was like, push.
Yep.
So where you feel it is the pitch you should probably do it. Like you'll find your own pitch and your own body's vibration. So I thought that was really cool because I've also heard like pitches and tones and frequencies, like, you know, I've been dabbling in all of these things. So I wondered if there was a correlation.
Yeah.
And according to my friend, he thinks that, he was very excited about hearing what I shared that you had shared with me. But he thinks it would really, you find your own vibration, you find your own frequency. So I thought that was cool and encouraging for you. Like, find your own, where do you feel it? Is it deeper when you go really deep? Is it a little higher pitch? Where do you feel the most vibration? Because you will feel a difference. Because I'm not going to play with it in front of the camera because I'm not as... I'm more insecure than you guys think I am. Let's say that. But I did play with it at home, and I was like, oh wow, you can really feel, playing with the different pitch and the different tones, how so you'll find where it's comfortable for you, I think.
Yeah. So I would just say when your hand's here, you'll feel the vibration, and then also when your hand's here, you'll feel the vibration, and then also after. That's why I liked us to take that restorative breath after we finish the practice and then move back out with some movement. And then feel in our bodies, like, how did we respond to that?
We're always saying be intuitive to our bodies, but you can't be intuitive to your body unless you're quiet and you listen to your body. And that's the thing that a lot of us forget. We're like, oh, I'm just intuitive. I don't feel like I need to quit. And I'm like, well, you haven't stopped to ask your body if you're, So I think that's important. And I like that you're like, okay, now settle. Okay, now how do you feel? Like, kind of let yourself settle into it and ask yourself and feel yourself.
I mean, and that's the goal for me personally. Like, that's the goal for some of this breath work, is I want to do a short intervention, and I want to be able to notice that I feel differently afterwards. And then that will inspire me to do it again tomorrow, because I know that it's making a difference in my body.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the more you live with yourself, the more you get used to your own nervous system, and the more that you meditate, I feel like the more that you're aware of your emotions and your anxiety and your dissociation, and to get yourself within that zone of window of tolerance.
Because I don't know about you, but I was really good at just keeping so busy that I didn't have to listen to myself. And so that's why all of this is so healthy in every area, is to just quiet your mind and just allow yourself to be present.
And like we were talking about earlier off camera, the invitation is, if something is coming up for you, and you find that this is not the right thing, maybe there's some intrusive thoughts, intrusive feelings, that's your body signaling that it's ready for you to have some good value from having therapy with a mental health therapist, that the issues are there and they're ready to be worked with. And I love that.
I do a lot of self work and, you know, working on myself, and I get to points where I'm like, you have to get to the point that you're ready for help.
Mm-hmm.
I think is a good way to put that.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're so busy trying to cover up everything that we're not even to the point where we're open to the suggestion of help.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Okay, so now we're going to shift into our last practice, which is fun practice, because I want to play around with range of motion and breath.
Okay.
So what we know from the lymphatic system is that it's joint movement is what helps our lymphatic system. That's why we want exercise for our clients, and we want exercise and movement for ourselves. Mm-hmm. And if you have upper limb lymphatic issues, we show there's a lot of things that your lymphedema therapist will show you as far as exercises. But this is something that everyone can do because everyone's lymphatic system,
everybody's lymphatic system needs to move.
Deserves to move.
But, and you taught me this, even if you have lower extremity, clearing out the upper is going to help your lower extremity as well. So don't forget to massage up here and do the movements up here and, you know, work the arms and do the things. So it's all.
Yep. So we are going to pair in a fun way. We're going to try not to hit each other. Yep. When we breathe in, we're going to stretch out, and then when we breathe out, we're going to come back in. So we're going to extend everything and then contract everything. So we'll do this for 6 breaths. 6 breaths or until someone gets hit.
Until someone it's all funny until someone breaks a nose.
All funny. Yep. So you don't have to work. This is joint movement, not an MMA cage fight.
Okay.
And if there's not someone next to you, it's going to be a lot easier for you to do it yourself.
I'm actually going to turn just a little bit to the camera because
no one's going to get hit. Okay, so we can get a little bit of the neck and a little bit of the shoulders, all the way out to the fingers, extending and then back. All right, so that's the plan.
I think intuitively I'm backwards. So good. We want to go
extend out,
and that we're
out.
Breathing,
opening.
We're out. We're exhaling. Exhaling out.
No, inhaling.
Inhaling. Okay, inhaling.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
So you feel like when you exhale, everything's in, and then you're even doing the crunch to really get everything else out. And if we're just playing with this, so if the opposite makes you feel good, if you're exhaling and stretching, then that's what your body needs.
Okay.
So, all right, so let's try it for 6 times. You're blooming.
Sunflowering.
Yep. The tree in the morning. Okay. And one last one. Let's make it beautiful and graceful. Okay. Put your hands back to your legs. This is another great resource, just feeling your pants leg, whatever fabric you have with your hands. Okay. How did that feel for you?
I'm amazed how much I liked that. I was like, okay, I don't know, Kathleen. I'm just gonna do this because you got me on camera. Yeah. That's gonna be part of my for sure gonna be part of my daily. That's awesome. That felt so good.
Yeah.
That felt really good. Yeah. You guys are doing it. That felt really good. And you weren't even like, don't hit Kathleen in the head. Yeah. So. Yeah.
And so there's a lower body too. If you had it, like we can stretch the entire
whole body
out. Yeah. So this is inspired by the therapist at the Foldy Clinic in Hintersart, Germany, when I went to the Foldy Clinic. And it was great because she was there. She taught us so many things. And after a week of lectures at the Foldy Clinic, like you're taking notes and stuff, but she showed this and everybody's camera went out. Each of us wanted
to make sure
we got so we could really share this with our clients. And if you have the inspiration, you can also be doing it with your ankles and your hips, and to have it be a hip opener.
I'm gonna go home and play with this. This was phenomenal. This felt really good.
Yeah.
And I can see that because I do a lot of the ankle stuff, the ankle twist and stuff, because I have lower extremity lymphedema. Mm-hmm. In case you're watching this and you didn't know already.
It's your first video.
In case you
knows a lot about
you just happened upon this video, there could be first viewers, and I thank you for joining us. I talk about lymphedema a lot, that's why. Anyway, but I do a lot of this, so I can see even opening up the knees, the hips, like this felt really good.
Yeah. And even like when you're on the computer and you just need a 2-minute break.
Yeah.
This would be it. Get that joint movement, get the breathing, and then you can go back and see how your brain is more able to do whatever.
So I've started this thing, which is totally off topic. This is a freebie. I've started this thing where I set a 12-minute alarm and I work on something for 12 minutes and then I work on something else. Like it keeps my brain sharper.
You know that's a thing, right?
I do.
It's called a Pomodoro.
Yeah, so, yes, and it really works.
Yes.
But in between that, you move, and like every 4 times, I just do a 12-minute, like I get up and I walk and I breathe and I actually move. And that has been really making me feel better with my legs, with everything. So but it keeps my noggin sharp too. Like I get so much more effective work done. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're within that zone of tolerance. Where you get your best work done.
Who knew?
And your immune system.
Oh, they knew. They've actually done research on it.
It's called a Pomodoro. There's a really great Coursera class called Learning About Learning. And the teacher teaches you the study techniques that like you really never got if your parents weren't educated in study techniques or you didn't have to go to some special
We have a high schooler that doesn't do well with focus. Brilliant! But just doesn't want to bother to do their work. And this has changed our life already. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I love that really helped them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just thought of that. I was like, this is going to be part of my break. Like the whole stretch and like get everything going.
Good.
I like it.
All right. So you want to close out?
I would.
Yeah.
I would.
Okay.
Do you want to give our viewers any other last tips or anything else?
We were going to go through a meditation thing to close out. And then I will give last tips. Yes.
All right.
Yep. So what we've done is we've looked at these 5 techniques for breath work that you can do. Definitely if you have a lymphedema diagnosis, but even if you don't, they're wonderful and they're free. And they're, relatively available to you. And at least the first 3, you can do them stealth and no one will know what you're doing. And the final 2, the toning and the range of motion, can definitely be valuable for you. And you can find the times of days or grab someone that you love and practice with them. And no one's embarrassed if everyone's doing it. So
exactly.
Now I just like to get us into just a meditation, a moment of mindfulness to close. We'll probably be here for about 2 minutes. And we're just going to find within ourselves what we've learned today and kind of say goodbye to this moment of mindfulness that we've had and transition back to your everyday life, which is waiting for you after this video ends. So I'll have you again take that relaxed and alert posture and just invite you to take a few deeper breaths. You can have your eyes open or closed during this part. And then just inhale for a little bit and then exhale. And notice your mood and your thoughts right now, what's going on inside for you. Do you have any feelings about the topic and the things that we've just talked about? just like to invite you to make room for whatever is here now inside of you. Focus for a minute. What was your inspiration for being here? Have you learned anything? Is there anything that you want to bring forward from what you've learned in this video into your life? And I'll have you take one more deeper breath, and then we're going to shift back into talking to each other and saying goodbye. All right, so we can shift out of this moment of mindfulness with our grounding resource. We can use any little kind of movements, moving the hands or the feet. We can rub the fabric of our legs, our pants against our hands, or the skin on our thighs against our hands. We can pay attention to any sounds in the environment, kind of reacquaint us from this time which we had to share, where we were using mindfulness and breathwork resources into kind of talking about what we heard and going back to our regular lives.
I just, when I shut my eyes and started the short meditation with you, I just was overwhelmed with a feeling of gratitude.
That's wonderful.
Gratitude that I know you, that you're in my life, and that you're taking the time to share this with us. And, you know, every video I make, whether it's industry stuff or lymphedema stuff, my purpose, my intention is always to empower, encourage, inspire, and educate. And I feel like this is probably one of the most empowering lymphedema videos that we've ever done. We've talked about some really great things, but I feel like today's video, to me, was just a very empowering, like, you got this. You're not alone. You got this. Like, something to give. Because when you live with a chronic condition, and you feel overwhelmed with pain or overwhelmed with stress or overwhelmed with, I can't afford this or I don't know what to do, this right here can be the difference between I quit and I can do this another day.
Yeah.
I think this is really important, that all of our viewers know that no matter what you're going through, you're not alone. And that there is help out there, and you are the one that can get yourself help. And even if it's something as simple as starting with this, it's going to make a difference. And so I'm just overwhelmed with gratitude for being here with you today.
Wonderful. That's so happy. I'm so wonderful. Yeah, I'm so wonderful. I'm so happy to hear that. That's so wonderful. I'm so happy to hear that.
I knew that's what you meant.
So I want to get because you asked about resources, and I do have one resource on my phone. It's called iBreathe. So this is what the actual app looks like. It's called the letter I and then breathe. It's a free app, and then you can pick the intervals. So this has a 4-7-8. You could do 4-7-8. You could do 5-7-8. It also has box breathing, and you can toggle how many seconds you want the inhale to be. You can make your custom breathing that you want, and then it will take you through. If you click on breathe, you'll see if you tap to begin, it will tell you how to inhale. Hold. It'll tell you how to hold.
Very cool.
It'll tell you how to exhale. Yeah.
That's really cool. That way you don't have to be thinking and counting. You've got it.
And it tells you on the bottom how many cycles are left, so you always know how much time is left. And it's a really great free app to have.
I'll put that in the description.
Yeah, the iBreathe. And there should be several apps out. There's also several mindfulness apps out. But as far as breathing and something that you can just let the app do the work of counting for you. And then that for me has been really valuable, because if there's a time that I'm anxious, I think all the social media companies have made it so if you're anxious, all of a sudden your phone's in your hand.
Yeah.
Right? You
Exactly.
have your phone, and then if you tap on the iBreathe app, it only
keep that on your home screen, not in a folder, right there where you can see it.
It only takes a couple taps, and then you can begin to regulate yourself.
That's great.
And then even if you have that moment of you're waiting for something, you can do that 2 or 3 minute breathing intervention that it's kind of guiding you, so you don't even have to, like, how am I counting? Am I counting too fast? Am I counting too slow? Like, you can visually see it. So you can even I like this because you can take the sound all the way down. No one else even has to hear you doing it. Put your earbuds in. Put your earbuds in, or take the sound down, and then the little circle goes up and down, so you can, even if you're hearing impaired, you can still use this app. If you're at some point where you can't see your phone but you can hear it, you can use it. Yeah, it's just like in your pocket, and someone thinks you're listening to music, but you're doing your breathing intervention.
That's really cool. That's a great tool.
It's wonderful. Yeah, it's so pro-social. I love the app companies that do something that are able to help all of us.
That are able to help. Yeah. And a lot of people have social anxieties and all different things that this... Okay, I can remember to breathe, because as silly as it sounds, when we all breathe to live, but we sometimes forget to intentionally breathe. And the intentional breathing really does help ground and get us grounded.
Wonderful. So it's always great to be here with you. I'm
always
so glad
great
that I was able to share these breathwork practices with each of you. Thank you.
Well, again, thank you. Make sure that you follow her on everything. She's on TikTok. She's like a big star on TikTok. But she's also on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, everywhere else. So everything will be in the description. And we'll see you guys later.
Thank you.